Flight sponsors 10-year tip with Garry Dibley.
Well, good evening. It's 9 o'clock. It's not actually. It's sort of about 12 minutes past 9, and it's time for 10-year tip with me, Garry Dibley. And for those of you who are in the live chat, we apologise. For those watching the pre-record, nothing happened. Don't worry about it in the slightest. We have sound. We're just about to go. And all you lovely people should get to watch this again. Yeah, the gremlins have well and truly moved into the Dibley house in the past 2 weeks. But all fun and games. So let's go on with the show. There we go. Thought I'd start off by just showing you a little, it's not a little box, it's a big box that arrived. Nicely made. I'll give you a little bit more information on these, or I probably have done already. So there you go. There it is. Stunty will be hiding in there at some point. But this is a nice big storage juice box made for Stunty. He's going to hide in there. He's demanded his own home. One of these you can find a very nice gentleman on the UK Vapors forum. Go to the modders section and you'll see custom boxes. I'll just show you. There was he did give me a another little one inside, which very cool. Thank you very much. I should be storing much juiceage in those. Very well done. Very, very, very well done. What are we going to do today? Unfortunately, I can see the looks on your faces in horror. Yes, we are going to be doing a box, but we're going to be doing a box with a difference. Don't think we've done this one before. It would be rude not to. It's warm. It's a Saturday. I should be erecting. Finish your sentence. I should be erecting fencing today, but the nice man from Wix has cocked up the delivery. So he's told me your fencing could arrive between 5 and 8 o'clock tonight, Mr. Dibley. That's great. Yeah, I'll put it up at 9. You donkey. Right, what have we got? We've got a little box. This is a three AA compartment box. It's got horrible back plastic, but I hate working with these. We have a little thing here, which is a heat sink, and we have right over here, as of yet unopened. Excuse me. A strip of voltage regulators. Now, the one thing I will say, with these things here, it's taken me a long time to actually source one of these that I do put in a mod that sells and sells through Liberty Flights. Now, you can get, I do believe Liberty Flights now has started selling 5-volt regulators. I'm not going to tell you where I get these from. You can source a regulator. It took me 6 months to find these, so you can understand I've got a source for them now. I know nobody else uses these. I'm not going to be telling you what they are. This is a 5-volt, 5-amp regulated little voltage regulator. You can get them, as I say, Liberty Flights will be selling them soon. You can get them on eBay. They come in all different shapes and sizes. You can get them even for a sorry, excuse me, just take them out. You can even get these, 3 amp, they go right down to an amp. Obviously you don't want, realistically, a 3 amp is good. I use the 5, as I say, I use this one quite a lot, and it's quite successful in what it does. What we're going to have to do to start with, realistically that's all we need, other than one of those, an ETA connection. We're going to need a switch. What flavour should we use? Let's use one of these, and we're going to need an LED. I'll go for a green one and a good old resistor. I'm going to be using a 220 ohm resistor in there as well. Basically bits I normally have lying around for the purpose of making 5-volt boxes. Why would you want a 5-volt box, I hear you cry? No reason other than it's regulated at 5 volts from the start of the batteries to the end of the batteries, and they give a damn good babe. Other than that, why would you want one? You can clip these down a bit if you wanted as well, if you wanted to regulate that down to sort of, 4.5 or whatever, but I just keep it at the full chunk, the 5 volts. So there are our bits. The easiest way I've found, to start off, we're going to have to get this this back plastic bit off so we can work. What I tend to do on this is have a little melt at these plastic lugs first. It just, if you don't, I find if you don't do this, just give them a little tap down with the iron. If you don't do this and you try and pull them off, because they're melted in, you'll snap your pins off the back. Then you can get a little chisel down in there and that pops off nicely like that. And then you can just literally peel this surface stuff off like so. You can tidy it up as you go. We're going to leave our switch where it is at the moment. What we are going to have to do on this particular box is remove these two here. So we'll just get the pliers down in and pull that out. Give me 1 second while we do this. So there's pliers in, get a grip on it like so, give it a pull, and that'll come out. Let's take it back up for this. That one will come out. Always worth keeping these, sticking them to one side. You can cut this in half and use this as a separate back spring, something like that. We're going to be feeding our red wire back through here, like so. And depending on, some of these you can probably see on here are glued in. So that one is particularly, that's glued in. You can give it a little pull. Now what I tend to do is I'll risk it, if it will pull out, all in one go, like so. Makes it a damn sight easier to work with. So we have relieved our positive pin. Now effectively what we've got here now, we've got already a completed circuit up here, our POS running through our neg, where we had this double bit running across. We've taken it out, and all we're going to do is reinsert our positive end in here. Now, in order for, obviously this is, if you like, a stacked battery scenario, so we're outputting the full chunk of the batteries, and the little regulator that's going to be seated in here is going to be taking the voltage down to 5 volts. What we need to do is, with a chisel now, what I tend to do is I knock these lugs out here and these here. So these two have got to be cut back. So I'll just pop it down on the bench, and I will just start working that away with this chisel. Always mind your fingers. And with a good sharp chisel, the plastic, you can get that away quite easily, a little nibble at a time, like so. And then for these back bits, pop it on, good bit of pressure, and it pretty much snaps it off. I'm just going to move this nearer me so I don't take me arm off when I'm doing this. Now why would you want to do that? Quite simply because this is where our regulator is going to sit. It's going to be quite tight working in this space anyway. We're going to have an atomizer in this end, we're going to have our switch, we're going to have an LED and a resistor and all sorts. Now a regulator is basically going to slot in this, and now that will sit nicely in there. Why would you use a heatsink? A heatsink effectively will draw, because we're regulating the voltage and we're clipping it down, it generates heat. The chips themselves, they have thermal cutout. If they get too hot, they cut out. They also have short protection and overload protection. So they're quite a smart little chip. Most of them, I think if you look at the features when you're buying one, most of them have those sort of features. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go and find the bits I need, and I'll pop back in 2 seconds. Right, I've come down on the bench a little bit now, just to show you the back of our regulator. What I'm going to use on this, before I'm obviously going to mount this in the heatsink now, for one or two ways. It makes it easier to easier to work with when it's clamped in here, and it's another part of the job done. What I tend to do on the back of here is to use a good heatsink compound. Now a heatsink compound is a if you like, a conductive little gloop of stuff, and this helps form a nice, if you like, it helps, it aids this draw the heat away. Technicalities exactly of that I really don't know, but it works, so we do it. Now in here, what we're going to, and it's horrible stuff if you get it on your fingers, what we're going to do is slide our little heatsink now into our thing. It can be a bit of a bugger to get in. And that's now slid in. As you can see, in that sliding in, what we've had is a little bit of spewage over the back. You can just wipe that off. Sorry, I'm not showing you remotely what I'm doing. So it can just be wiped off. What I tend to do at this stage now as well is I'm going to snip down my pins. So let me I snip those down sort of as far as I can, or as much as I want to work with. And I have my little doodah what's it ready to go. The other thing I tend to do on these is just give these a little squeeze in once they're in place. Just makes it easier to sit in the box. Sorry, just giving them a little squish. And it holds it in there nice as well. There we go. So that's ready, and as you can see in the box, that is going to sit back in there. Now while we've got this in place, what it's a good idea to do is just sort of size up. Now these are seriously tight when it comes to where we want to go with things. So what I tend to do is have a look at where I'm going to put an atomizer connection on this, which will give me a position for the switch, which will also give me a position for where the LED is going to go. I'm just retrieving the ATI end. So roughly I'm just going to be sizing this up now where I want things to go. You just sort of see the theory behind this. It's a lot tighter than making a a normal box mod, and there's a lot more wires to go and etc. So my ATI, when it's in place, is going to sit back about thus far, which means I can get my switch roughly about here and my LED a bit further down. So the centre of my switch, I'm going to drill roughly on where that says 3. I think that's roughly where I want to centre that up. Might even go a bit more. Yeah, roughly on 3, and then probably on the H for the LED, or probably on the B. Yeah, lots of probablys when you're making these. Let me just zoom out. Yeah. Oh God, he's all over the shot today. All over the shot. I need to find a drill, and believe it or not, I had the damn thing downstairs. So I'm going to have to cut this one, go down, grab the drill, come back up, find the drill bits. Bear me a second. Drill is retrieved. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and just with a little 5mm, 3mm, whatever mil it is, it's a drill bit. I'm just going to pop a hole through here. Now when I'm drilling for the switch, particularly in this box mod, I won't drill it dead centre. If I drill it dead centre, the switch will overhang the case. So I'm cutting it back just ever so slightly off centre in here for the first pass. So as you can see in there, off centre. That's probably a bit too much off centre, but we'll live with it. I'm going to drill a hole now for my LED. Badly. And because I'm using, I think this is a 3mm. Because I'm using a 3mm drill bit, I'll just be able to pop my LED straight in there, and that's mounted. You can use fancy LED mounts and all that sort of stuff if you want to pretty it up, but pointless really in this. And for my ATI connection, what I'm going to be doing is drilling dead central to the to this one here that all the gubbins are going to be running in. Again, to start with the pilot hole. Now what I'm going to do is up to a 9mm bit. If you can find a 9mm bit, it's got stuff all over the bench. So, oh, it's over there, silly boy. And he's not in Bing's phone. So a 9mm is the size that you need roughly for your atomizer connection. I do apologise, we were going to be doing wood this week, but the garage has been knocked down and I have no tools, they're all in storage, so yeah, we can't be doing wood. We will do when we get the new workshop up and running. I'm just going to pop a 9mm through here. Again, working with plastic, low revs. Let the drill bit do the work. That's the thing. Let your bit do the work. If it's sharp enough and this and the other, it'll do it. Don't go trying to ram it through, especially with plastic. You'll end up splitting the plastic and all that. Now I'm just going to enlarge my hole where my switch is going to go. So I've drilled out now for my switch, my LED and my ATI end. And what we're going to do obviously to get the switch through is just enlarge this hole, and I'm going to use a reaming tool just to ream that out enough. Which is painful because I sprained my wrist yesterday. Yes, I did a girly thing. I was trying to rip the night before the excuse me, got a blow. The night before the workshop came, or the garage came down, I had to take the old workbench out and pulled it, and it twisted in my hand, and I didn't let go of it like a donkey. And twisted the old wrist. So our switch should now sit in there. And as you'll see, when that goes in, that's going to sit pretty much flush, rather than if we had drilled dead centre, that would have been overhanging. And you can see the inside. Hey, jobs are good. What we're going to do now, just to sort of finalise this stage, is we're going to pop our positive pin back in. And our pos pin's going up here next to the neg. That should slot nicely down already into there, And what I tend to do when we got that in place is hunt frantically for the super glue, and we're just going to drop a little tiny blob either side of that battery connector just to firm it up in there. The others we won't need it because they're already sort of semi-glued. This one we will. So we have to go away and let things set now, and once they're all set I'll come back and we'll carry on with this thing. Right, our glue's set, and what we're going to look at doing now is potentially sizing up where some of these wires are going to go. I'll just feed my neg back through there when I'm all inside the case. Now, the way that I'll work this out is we are basically going to be running our regulator here, and what we will be doing is running our wire, or what I tend to do is run the wires under the regulator. So when these pop up, I'm going to need enough on that to solder on and pop back up. So I'm going to average sort of about here. So the theory behind that is these will run under the regulator, they'll pop back up, twist round and solder on the points. So with that in mind, I could probably take a little tiny bit more off these two. Then what I've got to look at, because these are our, if you like, our inputs on our regulator, what I've got to look at then, so we've got our input sorted on the regulator. This neg's coming via the switch anyway, so it's going to be switched as well. We've got to look at taking a feed now from our neg here up through, do you know what? It's been so long he's done this, he's bleeding forgot. I'll start with the pulses, that'll be easier. Our pulse is coming straight off this pin. I'm waffling while I'm thinking. Yeah, so this one here has got to come up to the atomizer. So I'll snip that off. I'm then coming back off the atomizer down to the LED. So I'll snip a little bit off there. So I need those two bits. Now, because we're going to be effectively switching the neg, our neg is going to come off our neg pin and up to the switch, so roughly about there. Off the switch and out up to our atty. So what I'm going to do is I'll pop away, I'll get all these trimmed up to where I need them to be, and I'll pop back. So there we go, our first little section. And I would like to dedicate this show to the London Olympics, because I think this show has probably had as many false starts as it will have during the events. Yeah, the torch come through our hometown of Sutton today, and my wife took my daughter and my son, and they went down to a great viewing place, and then 5 million people descended and stood in front of them, so I didn't see a bloody thing. I mean a damn thing. Obviously I can't say that. So it's time to go into our first ad break, and I will see you back very shortly after this.
Liberty Flights sponsors 10-Year Tip with Garry Dibley.
And we're back in the room. Yes, during that little interview, advert break interview. Where did that come from? I'm talking to the boy. He's putting me off. Yeah, during that, we discovered that that Super 7 in the chat lives just down the road from me, and I believe by glancing very quickly, he said he was buying the beers next time we meet. So cheers for that, mate. Yes. So the Olympics was on my doorstep and is going to be on my doorstep for a very long time. I'm going on holiday, so I don't care. Yes, but it's going to be, I think it's going to be interesting. We'll watch it on telly. Got to get tickets? Could I buggery? No. There was one event I wanted to go to. One event. I wanted to get tickets to watch the Taekwondo finals. Could I get those? No. It's not right. Just not right. So anybody out there can get me a ticket for those? Lovely. Cheers. Send it to Dave Dawn. I mean me. That would be good. Right, we're going to carry on. I'm just going to line up this next little video frantically. I've lost the plot today because at least I'm talking today. I'm not holding up my schedule, which is really badly written. So there we go. Let's cue this one up, and we'll carry on with this. Okay. Let's look at how we're going to do this. First thing I'm going to do on this cookie. So we've brought out the wrench. All I'm going to start doing now is tinning up all of the wires that we've sort of measured and stripped back. And the way that I obviously do that is I use and abuse old stunty, tin up my tip on there, and then just coat my wires, tin my wires up. Like so. Let's do the negs. When we get to the positives, what we're going to be doing is twisting these two together. There is very good reason for this. So let's just give those a little twist. Yeah. Tin those two up. And what I'm going to do on this, once that's actually tinned up, because there's quite a chunk of wire on there, I'm going to just snip that back ever so slightly. So we come on to the tricky part, realistically, and I call it the tricky part because it's the tricky part. We're going to start soldering our regulator, and it's a right pain in bum. Now, the way that these regulators work, and I need to just double check my schematic on this one. The pinouts on these can vary differently. On this particular one here, this is my voltage in. So this will be delivering the full wrath of two 14500s. This is the voltage out. This is after it's been all through the gizmo-y stuff in there. This one here will send me a pure clean 5 volts. This one here is the negative pin. Everything that is negative connects on this one. Now I normally do this clamped in the vise, so it can't move around. I'm trying to position this so you can have a look at what we're doing. But effectively what we've got to do with anything that we use is we need to tin up. So I'm just going to tin up these pins like so. So we've got something to work with. Now if you wanted to, before sort of soldering onto these, you can heat shrink back on these. It's not essential because these really aren't going to short, but if you wanted to, and it's probably advisable to if you feel uneasy, you can heat shrink these back over the pins. I forgot to tin one up. Hang on a sec. So as you can see on there, what I've done is I've connected the battery pack to the voltage in, as you would. Voltage out, I'm going to be connecting this one here that's going to be running down to the ATI. Yeah. So I've got my voltage in, my voltage out. Now this is where it gets damn tricky, because I've got to try and do two at once. This normally gets messy. But I'm soldering my two negs on together, because obviously one's going to be going up to the one to the switch and one up to the ATI. Now once you tin these, you can manipulate them about a little tiny bit and give them a pinch, but they always come apart. What I tend to do is run one either side and just go on both of those at the same time. That one didn't take. You little bugger. There we go. So just being careful that none of these are sort of shorting. There's no way that they can touch each other. Once these are on there, they're rock solid, to be honest with you. They are not going to be going anywhere. So essentially what that's left us with is our bird's nest coming off our regulator. So you can see he soldered the wrong wire on. You know, it is one of those days. I've just done something that's absolutely unforgivably stupid by getting carried away. I will relieve it of one of these. Of course, my neg that should have gone on there was the one from the box, you donkey Dibley. So ignore everything I've just done. Your neg from the box has to go on there, as it would do. So effectively what you've got now, you've got your pos and your minus feeding in to the regulator, and you've got a pos and a neg feeding back out. There we go. Next thing we're going to do, now we've got all that sort of soldered up, I'm going to position my switch in this unit. Making sure it's nice and square, and then I'm just going to feed a little bit of super glue inside, just around that switch, a couple of dabs, just so that it sort of all sets in there nicely. A little bead around my LED, and I'm feeding my LED in that way, like so. So we're starting to take shape. Got our LED in. Now you probably notice what I've got there is the shortest pin pointing towards the switch. That's because this is the neg pin, and I'm going to be soldering that directly on here. From the outside we have our LED and our switch in place, hole for ATI, and our regulator all nicely put together. So I'll pop back in 2 seconds, and what we'll be doing is working out how we're going to solder all this together. Okay, let's look at how we're going to do this. First thing I'm going to do on this is I'm going to bend down my prongs for my switch front and back. Nice and simple. I'm going to take a pair of bendies and I'm going to get this LED neg terminal, bending that over there so it's just over the top of that switch. What I'm going to do then is trim that back, and that should pop under there quite nicely. I'm going to bend this down and I'm going to snip that back quite low down in there. This is the other prong of the LED, and I'm just going to ease that down a tad. So maybe you can see this down in there like that. What I'm going to do is now just use a bit of solder and tin up the switch something going, or tin up the switch, tin up the, by tinning up this prong of the switch is going to form a joint between this LED, and then what I'm going to do is just tin up down inside and get a little blob on the other end of that LED down inside. Easier said than done when it's rocking around all over the place. So I'm all tinned up. I'm just going to now measure out where roughly, if I get this in place, I'll get away with that. I reckon I'll get away with that. So I'm going to put this one here on this side of the switch, so the wire coming from the regulator is going in on the top end of this switch here. It would be far easier if he could actually A, remember what the hell he's doing, and B, get this a bit more firm on the bench. But it's all good stuff. What I do is put that there, drop on the top, run it round under, seal that there, that's done. Nice solid joint. So effectively what we have here is we're switching the neg. We're going to be running our wire back off the ATI to this side, so when the ATI is in you know, a circuit position, the LED will illuminate, because at the moment all we're doing is switching it out this way, out that way, and as you can see that will slide down in there quite nicely. And next bit that we're going to do, and it gets a bit fiddly from here on in, is to get our ATI on. So I always bend over my end, I'll feed that through here, and you can see it's starting to get seriously tight now. So we've got to get this soldered on. I'm just going to get our ATI connector, as we've done many times before. Pop it on a used ATI. Works one of two ways. It helps take away the heat from this while you're soldering, and it also helps to hold it in the grip. I'm having to reach over everything today to do this, so it's a bit tight. So I'm just going to put a little bit of solder down on the neg pin, little dab on the pos, seal up that hole as well. And what we're going to do while we've got this through is bend it over, hold it like that. It just makes it a damn sight easier to pop that down inside there. Solder that onto the middle pin. Get our ATI all soldered up with the neg as well. So we got our pos and our neg on their leg so. So obviously we got some floaty wires here. We've got a floaty pos and we've got a floaty neg. Now our floaty neg is going back to the switch on this side where the LED is fed from, and our pos is obviously, this one is going to be running via the resistor, this little booger, down to the pos pin of there. So I'll pop back in two and we'll start gluing this thing up. So there we go, it's time for a second little ad break, and when I come back I've just been chatting to the boy, and he wants to lay down a challenge, so I'll see you after this.
Liberty Flight sponsors
PG. Because you want one.
iViber and iViber Elixir, based in Yorkshire, for your e-cig needs. That's iViber.co.uk and iViber-elixir.co.uk. iViber and iViber-elixir.co.uk, proud sponsors of ViberTrails.tv.
Do you want your cash to scratch a little bit further? Do you want a safer SIG? Then you need Safer SIGs, a proud sponsor of ViberTrails.tv. Go to www.safersigs.co.uk, stretchy man not included.
And now back to Garry Dibley's 10-year tip, sponsored by Liberty Flights.
So there we go, we're back in the room and not long to go now. So yeah, I was talking to my son, and he's watched me make things before, and he would like to have a go. So we're probably, next week's video may be his hands making something, and he's had a look, and he said he reckons he can make a box mod. So he wants to challenge Daz. Obviously Daz's kit is winging out to him very, very shortly. Yes, I failed again. Daz, it's coming to you. So he may have a go at making one too. They say anything a child can do. I know what Daz is typing in there, and it's not funny. But there you go. So he may well have a go. I might have to drag him away from the PlayStation or the Xbox or the place. He's got God knows what down there. It's not mine, it's his. I didn't buy it. So he's laying down a challenge, and that could be quite funny. I'm feeling really sunburnt. Back on with the last two bits. Back where we left you. So I'm going to be feeding my my little neg wire through here. So feed my neg through, and I'm sort of trying to get the wires as I'm doing this where they're going to go. Pushing me out in. And all I'm going to do now is literally run a bead of super glue round inside there to seal up my ASCII connection. He went to pick up the super glue top, and that was sat next to it. So I was going to try and super glue with a little SD keyring. Probably not a good idea. This was the one I wanted. Run a little bead around there. Now feed it in, giving it a little twist as you go, popping it home, levelling it up, hold it in place. The reason I've got the little SD key ring, we're going away soon, and let's unscrew that on it sets. So I've been trying things because I don't want to take I don't want to take all the big boys. I don't want to sort of take, you know, this sort of stuff and all of that. I will take one of these. I will probably still take this, and probably still take this, and probably still take lots of other things. But I've been trying bits to have some little nice little stealthy ones that I can stick in my pocket during the day, and the winners are this one and the Ritchie disposable. These are quite good. I blame you lot for this, but they are very good. Last quite a long time. And this is, I've got the menthol ones. These are on sale at the moment, I believe, from e-cig Wizard. And something like that. Chuck it in my pocket. You know, out and about in the club in the evening. Yeah, it's a proper little stealthy job. So I think those are the winners. That's what's coming with me. These are going to be my day devices, and if all else fails, I'll work back up. But there you go. Now the glue should be set. What I'm going to do is just drop another little bead right inside there. you would ask probably, why the hell do you want to take sort of looky, not looky like, well, looky likey in an SDK as your main devices? It's because I don't now rely on vaping that heavily, so it does me, you know, that'll do me. Okay, I've managed to super glue these two ones together. So I'm going to be feeding that there, that right there, that right there. Now what I need to do is I need to size up where my, let's go back down for this, size up my wire for where this is going for the jobby, for the LED. So I haven't got much space, as you can see, in there to get my LED. I've got to run, it's probably a bit too far, isn't it? I've got to get one here and one on there. So I'm just going to trim this down to roughly where I think I need to be. And then what I'm going to do is just tin this up. So the same thing when you're tinning up a component. You can just tin it up. These do get hot, but you develop asbestos fingers. Like so. So my little component is all now tinned up. And I just need to snip back this red wire roughly in the right sort of length. Giving him a tin, and I'm going to be putting the long, this long bit here, and I need a new iron. Tinning that onto there. Then what I've got to do with this is feed that back round. I'm going to put a little kinky in the end of it. So I'm going to get that back round, yeah, and soldered up down on there. As you can see, this is quite fiddly, this bit. So I've made my joint there to my from the pos, coming out via the resistor down to the pos bit on the LED. Now what I can do on here is just literally, I can feed this back round and I mould that back down inside the case down there. Like so. Again, if you want to insulate up, you know, that you can, but you know, there's an out that's going to short on there the way it is. If you want to put your heatsink on, go for it. What I've then got on here is my neg wire that I'm going to feed back round under here and stick on the other side of this switch, which is going to the resistor. So I'm just going to tin up and pop that in. Theoretically, that is our 5-volt mod. I'm going to sort out some batteries. We'll come back, and before we do, if you like, the finishing bits, we'll fire it up and give it a test. Right, last little bit, onwards and upwards, as they say. I found a couple of 14500s. I shall shove those in. I shall make sure that I'm all turned on. I hit my button. I have my light. Hopefully that means it's working. I'll screw them yeti. Oh, yes, we are. This is Basically, this is a low-res ATI. If you're going to be using, you know, regulated 5-volt device, you're better off with a standard res ATI, around about the sort of 2.8 to 3 ohm mark, realistically. So it'll work in air chips. You know, it's warm. It's not red hot. So that's all good. What we need to do now is just work on tidying this thing up. What I tend to do here, I'll just work out my wires, roughly where they're going to go. I want those to be sort of laying down in here, nice and flat, and there. And I've got a hot glue gun steaming away in the corner. I'm just going to put a tiny little blob of the hot glue in there, and I will feed this into the hot glue, giving it a good press so that sets off. So effectively what we've done is we've hot glued our heatsink in the elixir. So then it's a case of really just tidying up your wiring. If you work out roughly where you're going, I can see easiest one to run down first is going to be this neg. So I'll run my neg down in there. I'll run this other neg down in there because that's over the top. Then I can lay my pos wire down in there like that. Tidy these up a bit. And jobs are good. So as you can see, there is our finished 5-volt box mod. A little regulator running through. As I say, the one thing that you need to remember with these, not all regulators are built equal. I use this particular one because I know it works well. So it's worth, you know, it's worth playing. If you're going to build these to sell them, you know, you've got to make sure you test thoroughly what you're planning to put out there. What I'm going to do now is just feed my top cap, and what I'm going to have to do is just take back a noggin off there. Now this is the bit that holds your switch in place, so feed that over there, feeding it back over my prongs. Now holding that in place with your soldering iron, you melt back your plastic lugs again. Same on this side. Let that set off. So your little cover's sort of back on there as well. I went a bit too hot with the gun. But basically that is your 5-volt box. You can stick your batteries in, shove the lid on, and there we have it, a little box. On, off, la 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 la. ATI on. Like I say, this is a low-res ATI. I wouldn't necessarily use this with this box. It would kick like a mule. But for the purpose of the sound test, it works very well. That's going to be one hot A, and yes it is. So there we go guys, 5-volt box mod, nice and simple. Help yourself out. Back to me in the studio. Frantically clicking buttons yet again as the bird starts screaming in the background. That thing's going to die one day. Right, so there we go. That is how you make your own 5-volt box mod. 5-volt. Like the feedback in these, it throws your speech out, it drives you potty. Most people sort of mute it. I try and talk over the top of it. Right, before we wind this up tonight, fellas and ladies, Sorry, forgot you. I do have somebody who would like to pop in and say a few words. Boy.
Hey guys, I just want to say I'm up for the challenge if you are, Daz.
There you go. So he's well and truly up for it, Daz, if you are. And I think we should have some serious odds on this one. He has his own stunt wrench. We promised we'd get Daz one. It's going to get messy. The box mod wars and all that sort of stuff. Unfortunately, he can't. Yeah, he's a Manc. He is. He comes from Manchester. He does. I'm sorry. That's what I can say. What more can I do? You know, it's, you know, close your ears. It was his mother's fault. Right, you can come back in again now. Right, so I believe you've got something you want to say.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks for watching and have a good night. It's been emotional, folks.
Yeah, and he may well see you next week.
Yeah.
It's time to close this out. Say goodnight, boy.
Good night, boy.
Good night.
Liberty Flight sponsors 10-Year Tip with Garry Dibley.